Wherever you go, everything around you must be made of solid, liquid or gas. Even living things are made of solid, liquid and gas, no matter what shape they're in. Gases need a container to keep them in shape, and so do liquids. Solids usually hold their own shape. What happens if the gas escapes from its container? If you get off on the wrong tack? His inner tube is in a bit of a state, but to fix it, he needs all three states: solid, liquid, and gas. How can you tell the difference between the three states of matter? How easy is it to decide whether something is a solid, a liquid, or a gas?
That's a liquid.
It is a liquid, eh?
Freezing cold.
Some solids can be cut with a knife. But will solids go through a sieve?
If you have a solid one,
Well, most solids will.
at least, I don't think it will.
Okay. So that can be one test.
Liquids usually take the shape of their container.
It takes the shape of the flat, so it's liquid.
That's round, straight.
Does that mean rice is a liquid? Liquid milk flows, and so does solid milk. Why does only overflow? How can you test for gases?
Let it come on there.
These are trail hounds. It's not a hunt. They'll soon be hot on the heels of a horse with smelly nail varnish. How do the hounds know which way to go? This van is on the trail too. It's sniffing out a gas leak. The meter shows when there's methane in the air, detected by sniffers along the pipe. There's something smelly in the yellow box. Why don't they all detain time? What exactly is it that's got up their noses? This ship is forcing its way through thick ice. In the Arctic, water exists naturally in all three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. What's going on here? Snowflakes are just crystals of pure water. This is a single snowflake. The crystal has 6 arms which are almost identical. Why do regular shapes? This is frost growing on the branch of a tree. Crystals of ice are forming from water vapor in the cold air. When the air warms up again, the crystals melt. Why do they lose their regular shape when they turn into liquid water? Watch carefully. What happens when liquid water warms up? Is the same thing happening here? One way to learn more about solids, liquids and gases is to make a nice cup of tea. What's actually happening inside the pot?
We said that there was a solid in the tea bag that had like a dye in it, and when we put the water through it, the dye ran out into the water.
To see if a theory holds water, you need to put it to the test.
We found out that when the water had completely evaporated, bits of the tea leaves were left behind. And then when we looked closely at the tea after it's been filtered through the water, we found that in the tea, the bits of the tea leaves were there as well, like floating in between the water.
Are they right? Could they learn any more by looking at the filter paper? Or by looking more closely at the tea? A hand lens can't help you to see something that's dissolved. Will a microscope be any better? Dry ice, solid carbon dioxide at 80 below zero. What happens when you put some in water? Is it the dry ice that's boiling or the water? What's in the bubbles? Painting the ceiling can be a tricky job if you're not an expert. A liquid ought to be exactly what you need, something that spreads out easily. The trouble with liquid paint is that it doesn't always flow where you want it to go. Will he have better luck with a solid? This paint looks completely different. How can you paint with a solid? It doesn't look as if it'll flow at all, but give it a push and it behaves like a liquid. It's not only paint. What other things are there that are halfway between solid and liquid? How do you get ketchup out of the bottle? What about toothpaste?
Okay, right. Well, once the toothpaste is out of the tube, as you can see, it takes one particular form, which therefore I think means it has to be a solid.
If you put it into a sieve, if it's a liquid, then it'll go pour through into the bowl. As you can see, it hasn't.
Well, I don't know. It could be a solid. It can be cut. As you can see.
Yeah.
The solids don't exactly go like that, do they?
When a toothpaste is squeezed out onto a spoon, it doesn't move. But this one we did earlier, it started to collapse. So I think it's a cross between a liquid and a solid.
Sand seems solid enough. Ships of the desert won't sink. But would you park your car on it? The model car's sunk in an artificial quicksand. When air is blown through solid sand, the mixture behaves like a liquid because the separate grains of sand are able to move about. These scientists are investigating what happens when they mix a gas and a liquid. The whisk beats air into the liquid egg white. They've ended up with a mixture of a gas in a liquid, but it behaves like a solid, like shaving foam.
It's a bit like that. There's more bubbles.
This aerosol is a mixture of liquid and gas. Fog is an aerosol. It's liquid water mixed with air. What makes fog different from rain? Some people make a living by separating solids from liquids. Fishermen separate solid fish from liquid sea. And the net separates the big fish from the small fry. What's being separated here? Separating small amounts of solids and liquids is easy. But what would you do with a tanker load? It's full of a mixture of solid and liquid. The mixture isn't dangerous, so how do they separate the solid from the liquid? It's churned up to get it well mixed and pumped into this giant filter press. The sludge goes in at one end and at the other end you get clear water. Well, clear-ish. The solid's trapped in the filter. Why doesn't it go through? The solid that's left is called filter cake. It's quite harmless, so how do you get rid of it? You put it in a huge hole in the ground. Most solids are easy to dispose of because solids don't spread out like liquids and gases. But some solids are dangerous. Why do you think this stuff is wrapped up in thick plastic bags? And why are the bags buried straight away? Another way of getting rid of dangerous waste is to take it out to sea and burn it in a floating furnace. Some people think this is the wrong thing to do. How can the environment be threatened by waste materials? And what safe methods are there to dispose of solids, liquids, and gases?